Hello and welcome to Firstpost Live, where we bring you the day's top 4 stories from across the world. I'm Joshua Barnes, live from the Firstpost studios. Let's begin with the headlines. European Union leaders agreed to provide Ukraine a loan worth over $100 billion to plug budget gaps, but failed to reach a consensus on using frozen Russian assets to fund support for the war with Russia. TikTok signs a joint venture deal with investors to keep operating in the United States, aiming to avert a ban linked to concerns over its Chinese ownership. The United States suspends its diversity visa lottery after authorities say the suspect in a deadly shooting at Brown University entered the country through the program. Myanmar's military junta arrests more than 200 people under a new law targeting alleged election undermining, drawing criticism that the legislation is being used to silence dissent ahead of a planned vote later this month. And the Bank of Japan hikes interest rates to their highest level in 30 years, signalling further increases as inflation stays above target and the economy shows signs of recovery. Let's begin today with Bangladesh, which is seeing mass unrests. It followed the death of a prominent youth leader linked to the 2024 pro-democracy movement. Early on Friday, violence erupted in Dhaka as news emerged that Sharif Osman Hadi, a key figure of last year's student-led uprising, had died in a Singapore hospital on Thursday. Protesters took to the streets demanding swift arrests of those responsible for the attack on Hadi, who had been shot by masked assailants earlier this month.
I come before you with deeply heartbreaking news. Sharif Osman Hadi, the fearless frontline fighter of the July mass uprising and spokesperson of the Inqilab Mancha, who had been undergoing medical treatment in Singapore, is no longer with us.
Several buildings were set on fire, including offices of Bangladesh's leading newspapers. They are accused of favouring neighbouring India. Authorities reported multiple cases of arson across the capital and in other cities such as Chattogram. Protesters also surrounded diplomatic and cultural sites in the capital. The residence of India's deputy envoy in Dhaka was also targeted by demonstrators, prompting police to fire tear gas to disperse the crowds. There is no proof linking India to the student's death. Officials have urged restraint and stressed the need to prevent the violence from spreading any further.
Hadi was one of the key figures in upholding the July uprising. Regardless of political affiliation, he always called on us to unite.
I
urge the government to take immediate and appropriate steps to arrest those responsible. Above all, I want Hadi's ideals to live on for a lifetime.
Special prayers have been scheduled at mosques, and authorities have declared a half day of mourning on Saturday. Bangladeshi police have launched a manhunt for his attackers, releasing images of 2 key suspects, while announcing a reward of around $42,000 for information leading to their arrest.
This young leader, Osman Hadi, inspired by revolutionary spirit, became a powerful symbol of resistance. Through his actions, he left behind not only an example of protest, but also an extraordinary legacy of patriotism, patience, and unwavering determination.
Against the backdrop of nationwide unrest and the rising anti-India sentiment, a mob lynching was reported in the Mymensingh district on Thursday night. According to police, a Hindu man was killed over alleged blasphemy. The body was sent for post-mortem and no case has been registered so far. Authorities said investigations are ongoing and appealed for restraint. India summoned the Bangladesh High Commissioner on Wednesday amid recent threats to the Indian High Commission in Dhaka and inflammatory anti-India statements from Bangladeshi political leaders. Sharif Osman Hadi, whose death triggered the latest wave of violence, was also an outspoken critic of India. Bangladesh is set to hold national elections on February the 12th next year, the first such polls in the country since the ouster of former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. Ties between both the countries have been frosty since a student-led uprising led to her ouster last year. New Delhi said it has consistently supported free, fair and peaceful elections in Bangladesh. The country has been led by Muhammad Yunus since the July uprising that led to the exit of Sheikh Hasina, who took refuge in India. Courts in Bangladesh sentenced Hasina to death in absentia on charges linked to crimes against humanity. She has denied all allegations. As Bangladesh goes through one political storm after another, the environment continues to grow more fragile. With elections ahead, all eyes are now on how the situation unfolds. We turn to escalating tensions along the Thailand-Cambodia border. Thailand has launched additional airstrikes in Cambodia, targeting warehouses storing rockets used in the ongoing conflict. The latest strike came on December 18th, as the countries continue to clash over territories they both claim as their own. The border fighting resumed on December 7th after a skirmish left 2 Thai soldiers wounded. Since then, hostilities have spread across multiple fronts. Thailand has deployed F-16 fighter jets to strike Cambodian targets, while Cambodia has fired medium-range BM-21 rockets. Cambodian authorities reported that Thai airstrikes hit Phoi Phet, a city known for trade and casinos near the border. 3 bombs fell on a residential neighbourhood, damaging a warehouse and injuring 2 civilians. Thailand claims the targets were on the outskirts, not the city centre, and were chosen to avoid civilian casualties. The renewed fighting this month has claimed at least 21 lives in Thailand and 17 in Cambodia, while also forcing around 800,000 people to flee their homes. On December 16th, Thailand stated that Cambodia must be the first to announce a ceasefire.
On the ceasefire, you have to go ask Cambodia whether they are ready to stop firing. Let me also add a bit more on the ceasefire. Ceasefire doesn't just happen on desire, it has to take place on the readiness of all sides. And the incident this morning, is that what you call ready to ceasefire? In this context, a ceasefire means nothing. How can we talk about ceasefire when Cambodia has not stopped firing?
And on December the 13th, Thailand's foreign minister expressed disappointment over US President Donald Trump's comments on the conflict.
President Trump, in his phone conversation with the Prime Minister, and also in his tweet, described the landmine incidents. 7 of them so far, I remind you, as roadside bombings or accidents. Now, these incidents are definitely not accidents. They're the result of new mines planted by the Cambodian side. It's not just one incident, it's 7 incidents. And Thai soldiers have been severely wounded. They've lost their limbs, part of their limbs.
And this came after Trump spoke to the Thai Prime Minister and Cambodian Premier on December the 12th. He claimed they had agreed to cease all shooting. However, neither leader publicly confirmed a truce. And the Thai Prime Minister insisted that the military would continue operations along the disputed border. Thai officials have also raised concerns about thousands of Thai nationals stranded in Cambodia who can't cross back into Thailand due to the border closure. Cambodian leader Hun Sen said the decision to close the border was to protect civilians from ongoing military attacks.
Currently, there are about 6,000 to 7,000 Thais gathering at the border at Phoi Phet. They want to come back to Thailand. They come back and we hope that the Cambodian side would consider this on the basis of humanitarian principles. We've been talking with the Cambodian side directly and indirectly, and we had hoped that we got clearance for the border to be open today between 1 and 4 p.m. But unfortunately, the Cambodian side has decided to postpone the opening of the border without giving us any clear reasons.
And in a new Cambodians marched through the streets of Phnom Penh, demanding an end to violence following heavy clashes with Thailand along their shared border.
I joined the march demanding peace. We want our country to have peace. We gather and march here to show our unity and tell the enemy that we want peace. We do not demand anything else rather than our safety and peace.
I, as a Cambodian, I want peace, not war, because our country used to have so many wars in the past years. So we wanted the international community to help stop the Thai invader on Cambodia now.
But the situation remains volatile. Thai and Cambodian forces are still engaged in exchanges of fire. Airstrikes and artillery attacks are still ongoing. The international community is watching closely, hoping for a resolution, but the threat of further violence looms large. The fighting stems from long-standing territorial disputes along the border, including control over the centuries-old Preah Vihear temple. The conflict remains unpredictable, with no immediate ceasefire in sight. It continues to take a heavy toll, with lives lost, hundreds of thousands displaced, and communities left in fear for the both neighbouring nations. Moving on, let's now turn to Australia, a nation that is grieving, reflecting and acting after one of the deadliest mass shooting attacks in decades. This in the wake of the recent tragedy at a Jewish festive gathering near Sydney's Bondi Beach that has claimed at least 16 lives. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese has announced a new national gun buyback programme, calling it the largest such effort since the landmark reforms of 1996. The Prime Minister says the tragedy has exposed the hard truth. Australia now has more firearms than it did 3 decades ago, including at the time of the Port Arthur massacre, the deadliest shooting in the country's history. The Bondi Beach attack was perpetrated by a father and son duo, one of whom was killed at the scene. The other now faces terrorism and murder charges. Under the new plan, authorities will buy back surplus, illegal and newly banned weapons from the public. The scheme will be run in coordination with state and territory governments.
Today, I'm also announcing that the government will establish a national gun buyback scheme to purchase surplus, newly banned and illegal firearms, the largest buyback since the Howard government initiated one in 1996. Australia's gun laws were last substantially reformed in the wake of the Port Arthur tragedy. The Australian Federal Police will then be responsible for the destruction of these firearms. The National Gun Buyback Scheme is on top of the work that was agreed by National Cabinet on Monday, limiting the number of firearms to be held by any one individual, limiting open-ended firearms licensing and the types of guns that are legal, making Australian citizenship a condition of holding a firearm licence, accelerating work on standing up the National Firearms Register.
And the Prime Minister said he expects hundreds of thousands of guns to be removed and destroyed through this programme. Albanese also took a strong stance on who should own firearms, saying non-citizens have no legitimate reason to possess guns. Australia is known for having some of the toughest gun laws in the world and one of the lowest gun homicide rates. However, the Bondi Beach attack has exposed the need for tighter enforcement that could safeguard Australians. Albanese said the Bondi Beach attack was motivated by anti-Semitism and inspired by ISIS ideology, adding that his government is determined to eradicate anti-Semitism and hate-driven violence from Australian society.
The National Security Committee has agreed that changes will include the following 5 points. Agreed changes will include 1. Aggravated hate speech offence for preachers and leaders who promote violence. Secondly, increased penalties for hate speech promoting violence. Thirdly, making hate an aggravating factor in sentencing crimes for online threats and harassment. Fourthly, developing a regime for listing organisations whose leaders engage in hate speech promoting violence or racial hatred. And fifthly, developing a narrow federal offence for serious vilification based on race and/or advocating racial supremacy.
Under the proposed changes, penalties for hate-related offences would be toughened. Judges would be given clear powers to treat hatred as an aggravating factor when sentencing cases involving online threats and harassment. The government also plans to expand its ability to refuse or cancel visas for people who spread hate or division or who are assessed as likely to do so if allowed to enter Australia. Authorities will also identify and target organisations whose leaders promote hate speech or racial violence and intervene to take action before harm occurs. Prime Minister Albanese has also declared Sunday, December the 21st, a national day of reflection to honour the Bondi Beach attack victims and to stand in solidarity with Australia's Jewish community.
Today I confirm that the federal and New South Wales governments have declared Sunday, 21st of December, a day of reflection to honour the victims of the horrific terrorist attack at Bondi Beach and to stand in solidarity with the Jewish community.
Internationally and at home, the country faces growing criticism for being too slow in confronting rising anti-Semitism. The government says it is now moving with urgency. Now, from policy action to public mourning, Australia is sending a clear message. Grief will not turn into fear, and anti-Semitism will be met with action, not silence. And for our last story today, let's shift focus to India's capital, Delhi. Citizens have once again woken up to a thick blanket of smog. This has disrupted flight operations. The India Meteorological Department has issued an alert in Delhi for dense fog. The warning comes as weak winds continue to trap pollutants, worsening the air quality index. AQI in the parts of the city crossed the 400 mark, pushing it into the severe category. According to reports, the Delhi airport cancelled 79 flights this morning. The cancelled trips included both domestic and international travel. The fog also reportedly delayed the departure of more than 230 flights. Delhi airport authorities have issued an advisory for passengers. It has cautioned the travellers over possible delays and disruptions. The poor visibility has led to Cat 3 operations at India's busiest airport. Cat 3 is a type of instrument landing system. It allows aircraft to land in conditions of very low visibility. Domestic air carriers like Indigo and Air India have also issued a travel advisory over potential delays. Indigo cancelled more than 100 flights across India, citing fluctuating visibility. This included 53 flights flying to and from Delhi. It sought passengers' cooperation over the seasonal occurrence. Meanwhile, the Ministry of Civil Aviation has also sounded an alarm over the possibility of disrupted airport operations. The ministry advised travellers to remain in contact with airlines, check official platforms for updates and allow extra time for travel. It also assured of refunds and free rescheduling by the airline operators. It has instructed all airport directors to provide the necessary support to passengers. A similar warning was issued by the Airports Authority of India as well. Yesterday, Delhi witnessed its coldest December day of the winter season so far. The maximum temperature settled was more than 2 degrees below normal, and amid cold, foggy days, poor air quality has added to the woes of Delhi, affecting the visibility in the capital. That's all we have on the show for today. We will see you again tomorrow at the same time. Until then, thank you for watching.